3, 2, 1, let's go.
152 yards. Should be just a nice, comfortable 9-iron for him. They're going to go nuts when he hits this thing.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome in, golf fans, to a new era of Preferred Lines. This is what we call the Read the Line era. We are debuting this show for the first time exclusively on the Read the Line channel. We are here tonight to recap an electric playoff finish at Bay Hill, as well as shift as much time, energy, focus as we possibly can to the Players' Championship, one of my favorite events of the year. Of course, I'll have boots on the ground as well as our special guest tonight. But first, before we do that, John, good evening. How you doing, sir?
Good evening. Happy Players Week. It is the crown jewel of Florida, your home state, my adopted home state, I would say, with how much travel I've been sending down there. I'm a big advocate for Florida golf now. We are getting water on almost every single hole, which I love to see. It's my favorite. I have to qualify every statement once we get into the major swing of like, this is my favorite event to watch. This is my favorite event to bet on. This is my favorite event because of the field. This, I think, overall is my favorite event of the year because it's the first one that's big and you know, everybody's talking about it. And this is when like my dad and my uncle and my friends from work are coming out of the woodwork to ask me what's going on. Like it all starts now and the course is amazing and it's always a great finish. So I can't wait to talk about it with you.
Oh yeah, buddy. It feels like up until now, it was like everyone's here. Golf season, it's like cocktail hour where everyone's like standing up, mingling around, grabbing a drink. Good to see you. It's been a while. And like now someone came over the mic, was like, it's time to sit down. Your first course is being served, and that is the Players' Championship. And one guy we are extremely excited is sitting down with us tonight, the boss, the captain of the Read the Line ship. Welcome to the show, Keith Stewart, live from Jacksonville, Florida. Just touched down in JAX. Great to see you, Keith. What's up, dude?
Boys, I tell you what, the weather was up this evening. I was delayed getting down here. A lot of rain came down in the Jacksonville area. I'm sure we'll get into it, but you know what? I'm more proud than excited to be here with you guys on this show and talk about the players. You know, much like John and you and Joe, you and I have talked about this before, but until I started coming to this event, I really didn't know how great of an event it was. This is definitely, it's not the Masters, but I tell you what, it's pretty major in my mind. Brandel's not the only one.
March is major, and we're here. You know what else is here? The Read the Line partnership, as we've always mentioned, rolling across the bottom of your screen right now. Everyone out there wants to be a better Keith Stewart. They can all become subscribers over at Read the Line using the exclusive code that you gave to us, Lines25, for a limited time only. We may run out of it at the Players' Championship, so act now on that. That's going to lock you into the best deal in the industry, $7.50 per month for everything that you give to the people. Keith Stewart, give us a little quick 60-second elevator on why everyone should go over there and subscribe to the Read the Line channel.
Well, hey, we just have the best newsletter in the business, and it comes more than almost all the time from on site. You know, I'm here for Players Week this week. I was at Bay Hill last week. I was at Cognizant the week before that. Whether we're touching down at TGL, touching turf, right, Joe? Or, you know, going to LPGA majors or going to all the men's majors. Last year, we went to every men's major. We went to the Ryder Cup. We're handicapping it all. I'm the only handicapper in the press building at Augusta National. And those insights we're bringing to the newsletter. It's super sharp. And we're giving you all sorts of, like it's very much like John's, like PGA Touts betting card. Super diversified. You're getting props, head-to-heads, placements. You're getting outrights. You're going to get my full DFS breakdown. And then, you know, everyone that joins, they follow us on social media. And then you get the live bets all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the live ads. They're just posted on social media. Super easy, right to your inbox. There's no logins and nothing complicated for everybody.
Listen, these three boys are absolutely churning it out this week. Everything you need to know about the Players' Championship from Mr. Hasselbauer is already posted. Keith, roughly how many words did you put together in the Golf Digest Power Rankings this week, giving every single player in the field? How many words are you at right now?
It's we're not quite done with it yet. It'll be published on Monday morning, but about 5,800 words so far, Joe.
Holy smokes. That'll be out tomorrow. I'm doing a special edition long shot style piece over there for Golf Digest. Of course, make sure you check out live from the Tout House. I have an idea of which hole he'll be taking on at TPC Sawgrass. Of course, Keith and I do the TGL show. So right around the corner, make sure you check that out. If you're subscribed to the Read the Line channel, you're going to see that pop up in your feed. Great to see you guys this evening. Let's kick it off with a little Bay Hill recap. Akshay Bhatia. The comeback is complete. I told you guys what he said about Joe Griner before the show. My heart was pumping. I was so excited for him. Now 3-0 in playoffs, his career. Your takeaways from the end of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We'll start with you, John.
Yeah, I mean, Akshay is helter-skelter. He is like the human experience personified. He is the best of times and worst of times. He had Pebble Beach in his grasp and kind of let it go. And you thought that might be his opportunity to win a signature event this week. You know, last year, the year before, Rocket Mortgage was completely in his control. He kind of botched a very short putt that would have put it into a playoff. So we've seen the low end of Akshay, but then we've also seen him duel it out in those playoffs against Patrick Rogers at Barracuda, against Danny McCarthy blazing hot with a bad shoulder after fist pumping too hard at the end of regulation to win the Valero. I mean, this guy is box office, and not even mentioning all the TGL theatrics. So a rising star, just must-see TV when Akshay's got it cooking. You feel for Berger because he's going to be put into this category of gave up a big lead, similar to Shane Lowry. But I honestly think this is just Akshay being incredible in the back nine. Berger didn't really make too many mistakes. I mean, you can say, you know, he put it in the bunker, he got a fried egg. That's a tough break. And you shouldn't be leaving it there as a mishit. So he gets a bogey for that and just could not drive it on 18. I think that's the story of the week. That was really his kind of kryptonite. And unfortunately, it's the most important hole with the playoffs as well that got him.
Tough. Keith, I know you were in the air. I'm not sure how much you saw of it, if you had Wi-Fi or a little TV in-flight experience there with the end of the API. But once again, I feel like there's a guy with a big lead who's playing a bit, I called it on Twitter, prevent defense in a way, and sort of trying to play it safe, trying to hit greens in regulation. It ends up biting them in the butt because the guy who puts his foot down on the gas pedal and plays aggressive and attacks pins like the one on the 16th hole today ends up winning the tournament. So it just seems that shift in mindset is very difficult for the player in the lead to deal with, but also kind of frees up that guy chasing, right?
You know, Joe, you put it very well there. Daniel Berger was 5 up with 9 to go, and he took an iron out on the 10th hole. He had 187 yards in there. Akshay had, 100? And when we start – I love Daniel Berger when we're out here on the road. He's a great guy to talk to. He is just like he was in the Ryder Cup. He's like, I'll chug a beer with you. He'll win a golf match. He's an FSU Seminole. Like, he's a guy you want to play golf with. Like, you get that trivia question, you're like, who are some PGA Tour players that you like would want to play golf with? I'd want to play golf with Daniel Berger. He's a good dude. He's a good hang. And I feel like he's also, his DNA is attacking things and, you know, being aggressive and going out to win. And when you saw the irons, that was like, oh man, what are we doing here? But so I don't want to go too deep there. Congratulations to Akshay and all the Akshay backers. But what I think is most interesting about what we watched, and Elon had me hooked up. Starlink was on the plane. I got to see the whole thing. Yeah, I saw it all. And there's like people looking over my shoulders because I had it going on my phone and everything. It was spectacular theater. It really was. And Bay Hill never disappoints. But it reminds us, because the 3 closing holes there are a par 5, a par 3, and a par 4. And they're all pretty interesting. And it sets us up for what's about to happen this week. And I would just say this much. We were going into Bay Hill. We were talking about you got to have driving accuracy. You've got to be elite with your iron game right now. And you got to be able to get the ball in the hole. So, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, downplaying, you know, around the green there at Bay Hill. But guess what? What did Akshay do? He was the best around the green. He was the best with the putter. And that made a difference. But the iron game there, I think Bay Hill's become a very, very significant preview for what we're going to see at the Players' Championship. And that was my biggest takeaway. What the field did there, I think, is very important for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Easy par 5, you got to score on.
Yeah.
Challenging par 3, and then probably the most difficult hole on the course to close it. A lot of similarities there. Although I'll say you mentioned a little bit of rain in the Jacksonville area tonight. I don't think we see the bright white purple. They looked like they were playing off like sidewalk, hitting into some of those greens. That was insane from Bay Hill. I don't want to spend too much time though on Bay Hill. We've been listen, a lot of you guys in the comments want us to move on to the next week quicker. We're hearing you. We're here to do that today. But first, we're going to have a little fun with a couple little, Keith, we like to do a little storylines, topical stuff in the world of golf. This week, I thought it was kind of interesting. The news about John Rahm in the Ryder Cup and the impact of him not being willing to accept the deal by the DP World Tour and what kind of impact that has on his Ryder Cup status. And then obviously Team Europe, Luke Donald, the big news of the week, going for the three-peat as Ryder Cup captain. Rather than address those storylines, like I think a lot of the other podcasts out there are going to do, let's talk about us, right? I want to talk about me a little bit here. We know who's going to be captain for Team Europe. I thought I'd pose the question to you guys and get your take on who's going to be our captain. We still don't know. There's rumors flying everywhere. Keith, I know you've heard some stuff. John, I know you've heard some stuff. I'll start with you, John. Who's your pick and who you think is going to be the captain of the United States?
Yeah, we were talking before this and looking at the odds, and it's very precipitous drop off after Tiger Woods. He's the prohibitive favorite. I have my questions about whether Tiger oversees in a spot the U.S. team's heavily underdogs, if that's the spot he's going to choose, because I know Tiger's very precious about his image, his reputation. He wants to win. He wants to be set up for success. Bethpage would have made a little bit more sense. Timing didn't work out for him. I don't think it's going to be Tiger Woods, but I don't really like the other options on the board. So I don't know. For me, I want the Herb Brooks patriotism. I want to take it back to the miracle and find a captain who can rally the troops and find some common ground and get people to play for each other. And I think last year with Keegan Bradley, Team USA showed that they were open to changing things up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the more I think about this, we don't really have coaches in golf. So why do we even need somebody in the golf universe? I would like us to see somebody who's a leader of men. So give me Nick Saban. Give me somebody like a Nick Saban out there who has the track record of team bonding, getting a fresh class of people who don't know each other to get along very well immediately, who's American blue blood and is football and something that the Europe team just isn't able to prepare for or counter against. So let me go off the grid here. I want to see a leader of men like a Nick Saban. What do you guys think?
Tough guy. We could use all the tough guys we need. We need an intimidating force there. I don't know what odds I'd put on Nick Saban to be Ryder Cup captain, but I don't mind it. Keith, what do you think about Saban? And then after that, you're as clued in as anybody with the PGA of America, as we know. Who's your guy? Where are you leaning?
So I think Team USA. I like where your head's at, John. But I think Team USA, above all else, has trust issues. They have trust issues with the PGA of America running this event. And Tiger Woods would alleviate a lot of those trust issues. I'm not sure that Tiger, coming off a year where he's redoing the entire PGA Tour schedule, is ready next year to give up a bunch of time when I think he'd rather be traveling to go see Charlie play golf tournaments or something like that. Now, with that being said, most people overlook this, but the two gentlemen that basically own Adair Manor, JP McManus and Dermot Desmond, have been very, very good to Tiger in his career. So don't for a second try to downplay their relationship there. They have had a significant impact on. I saw it 25 years ago when I was with Tiger at Isleworth. Those guys were around all the time. So if Tiger is the captain for Team USA and he goes to Adair Manor, that is worth a lot of money to everyone that's involved. that owns that place.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure part of that goes back to Tiger as a kickback. So I think that that's the best thing that they have going for them. The deadline that I've heard is coming in a couple of weeks. So we will know before the Masters whether or not Tiger's going to say yes or no. With that being said, it's like, I'm with you guys. I'm not quite sure that he wants to do this. And if he doesn't, then who are we going to use? And as thoughtful as your commentary is there, John, it's not going to be Nick Saban or Bill Belichick or Mike Krzyzewski or something like that, right? Herb Brooks was still a hockey coach. You know what I mean? When they revamped Team USA for basketball, they still brought in Mike Krzyzewski. And I think that with the team having some trust issues, I think you have to really find somebody that I'll say it right now. You know, they say the NFL is a copycat league. The Ryder Cup should be a copycat league. Who is going to be the strong, silent guy that's going to run the team like Luke Donald? That's the guy that I'm interested in. So is that Justin Leonard? Seems like a good guy. He's from Texas. Our best players from Texas. You know, we definitely need to get him more locked in. There's no doubt about that. How about a guy like Steve Stricker again? Stricker did an unbelievable job, and the guys truly loved him. The reaction from the team towards Stricker, and he is that strong, silent type, and he had that team really engaged, and they were prepared. And you got to, like, everyone forgets this, but he managed all of that through COVID. That could not have been easy. And he was super thoughtful about the whole process. So I kind of like Stricker. And then the last one, and I want to ask you guys a follow-up question to this, but I still think Jim Furyk's a pretty level-headed guy that has the respect of a lot of players that are of that generation that is now playing right now. So Furyk started this week working for Golf Channel. What did you guys think of his commentary, aside from the Ryder Cup question?
I thought he was pretty good. I'm always a little bit reluctant, Keith, when it comes to players in the booth who I don't feel like are like that eccentric and have a personality that I think fits with television. But I was pleasantly surprised. I'm still TBD for the most part for me on giving him a couple more shots to see how he does. But I thought it was a good first impression. What about you, John?
Yeah, I thought he was solid, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was a little plant to see if we could get Jim Furyk on the good graces of the American golf fans, and then that teases out that he could be a potential captain. People, he sounds smart because he's talking a lot of strategy, and people are more receptive, and then they kind of build some, positive momentum behind him. So maybe that's what they're trying to do. I agree with you. I think of all the like steady options, Jim Furyk would be the one that comes to mind to me first as like maybe your safest play, or Steve Stricker too. Like you said, I mean, that was kind of a home game for him the last time the U.S. Team won at Whistling Straits. So that could be an interesting option too.
Yeah, for myself, I thought of a lot of options here. I started with, you guys both know that I was big on the take last year that I think someone can play and be captain. And I don't think that's too big of an ask. Clearly, the PGA of America disagreed with me on that once. But I see, I want a guy who just has a very analytical mind and plays probabilities. And we talk about this so much, Keith. Like, you and I go back and forth on just guys who understand the nature of winning and are just cold-blooded and call it black and white and say, if I have a 55% chance to win this way and a 45% chance to lose, I'm choosing this path, no matter whose feelings it hurt, no matter any of that. So I think Patrick Cantlay, we've seen him in there.
Say that.
I mean, the guy in TGL has every single metric figured out to the nth degree. And if there's anything that we were lacking in the last Ryder Cup, it was the inability to understand and interpret analytics to give ourselves the best probability to win. You saw it in the course setup. You saw it in the pairings. Yeah. He has become like a stalwart as a part of that team. So if we were going to use a player who I think could handle the pairings, could handle the heat, could handle everything that goes along with it, I think he's the guy. I say that ultimately Tiger Woods is going to be the captain. I feel good about, I don't know that he wants it, Keith, but he's spoken outwardly how he wants a road game. We know his ties to Adair Manor. Our backs are against the wall. We're the underdogs. This is a perfect position to come in and play a hero role that he relishes and kind of put the final stamp on his career as the greatest of all time. It's to bring us from the depths and overcome the ironic Goliath that Luke Donald has become. We are now David in this scenario, and Tiger Woods can wield that sword and I think bring us together and go out there and win.
I just want to add, are we concerned about the way he's strategized the hammer in TGL?
Very.
Like Jupe Links has just run amok, and he's the leader he's not playing, right? So he's the de facto captain of this team. Are we concerned about his captainship capabilities from what we've seen in TGL so far?
Yeah, very big differences. Go ahead, Keith.
John, you bring up a good point, because the PGA of America is going to have to be super savvy on how they try to introduce strategy and consultants to Team Ryder Cup if Tiger Woods is the U.S. captain. There's no doubt about that. Tiger is still Tiger, and it would be interesting. It'd be interesting to learn more about what he's been like in the boardroom working on the PGA Tour schedule, which we're going to hear all about this week, which will be exciting on Wednesday when Brian Rolap gives his press conference over there at the headquarters. But, if the PGA of America gets Tiger on board and they can get Tiger to learn hammer strategy, then I think that, it'll be a very exciting lead up for whatever. If we get Tiger and we find out it's Tiger by the Masters, we'll have 16 months or so leading up to this thing. And it'd be pretty electric. That's for sure.
Listen, the strategy is not his strength. We know that he's going to have to lean on other people. But what he does, Keith, and we see him in there, is like when these guys are standing next to him, whether it be on the podium, whether it be there's a certain feeling they get, and he is a rallying cry, and they care about him. They care about how they play for him. And he brings the best out of those people around him. Like when you see how much he means to Max Homa and Tom Kim and Kevin Kisner and Bhatia, just to have him on their side, they are thrilled to be just around him and a part of him. And that's what I think that he could bring us and just kind of instill some confidence. Like, we're with Tiger, right? We're doing this together. We're on the road and we're doing it with Tiger. We'll see. We'll see. It's all yet to be determined. Fun stuff, fun topic. Thank you guys for chiming in there. I wanted to do one other fun thing before we shift to the players really quickly. Favorite thing of the week. I've got one that I just have to share that I've been dying to. So I'm going to pitch it to you guys first. John, your favorite thing you saw this week in the world of golf, 60 seconds. Let's hear it.
Yeah, young guns in Puerto Rico for me. The opposite field events are such an easy throwaway. And we've talked about on this show, like the misuse of sponsor exemptions. They nailed it 11 out of 10 with the sponsor invites here. John Daly, they had some amateurs coming in for the first time. You got Blades Brown in there in contention. All of the risks that they took on the names paid off. It was a really exciting leaderboard. I was double screen watching. I was just as engaged in Puerto Rico, seeing these first timers, Castillo, obviously, and shout out Joe for landing on Castillo. We didn't talk about it much on the pod, but if you follow along on X, you saw it. So shout out Joe. But you had Castillo, who's 25. You had Blades Brown, who's 18. You had John Daly II, who was right in the mix. A great use of the sponsor invite. And I hope that we don't lose these alternate events in the future. There's some discussion with the rescheduling. We might. This is what you want to see out of it. The hungry guys who haven't won yet, and the yet to be proven guys who are young and trying to make a name for themselves.
Love a good double sweat. Shout out Puka Necklace, Ricky Castillo. Thanks for getting me a little dub there. Keith, your favorite thing you saw in the world of golf this week?
I'll just say this much to back up John's point real quick. John Daly II, with all the attention that's on Charlie Woods, John Daly II could be a star. When he shot that opening round, that great open round, and the woman interviewed him, and he's like, "You gonna go hit walls?" He's like, "No, I'm gonna go to the beach in Puerto Rico." That was unbelievable. For me, it's easy, Joe. Tom Kim's hole-in-one was absolute bedlam the other night. That was unbelievable. But it's not the hole-in-one itself. Knowing Tiger as long as I have, personally, 25 years ago, when we would hang out and there were no cameras around, you got to see his personality. I haven't seen that in decades, man. And I know that there's been ups and downs to his career. There's been injuries. There's been all sorts of stuff, the social media tracking, everything. But his reaction to those guys And then the reaction in the press conference room, to me, that was a 15 out of 10 moment in my life. I love Tiger to death, and it was great to see him being so happy with the guys and just enjoying a golf moment when, his life gets a little bigger than golf sometimes. And to see him back in the purity of it all, like why we love the game, for me, that was the highlight.
The most electric moment I've seen in the SoFi Center. And we've been to a lot of those matches, Keith. This is going to sound cheesy to people who haven't been there as much as we have. There's a different energy when Jupiter plays there. Like, people are paying attention. People are engaged. Now, is it Cameron Indoor Stadium? No. But it is a much different environment when Jupiter is playing. So really cool to see them come through and get that playoff bid. For mine, I'm going to stick to the TGL narrative here as much as we're trying to get onto the players. But really cool moment for me. Wanted to share a little story with everyone. So I had my family there. Keith got to meet my family, brought them to TGL, to the LA and New York match. And I'm kind of just meandering around backstage. I go get my son a canned Gatorade from the media center, which he thought was cool. And the players are beginning to walk out to the field before the match. And I stop him and I'm like, hey, these guys, New York's coming through, right? I'm like, these guys are they're about to walk right by us here. Like, give them a fist bump, give them a high five, tell them good luck. They'll love you. He's shy. He's 9, kind of gives a fist pump out there. And 2 of the players, we won't name them, but walk by and we're engaged with each other, but kind of stiffed him a little bit on the high five. Not intentionally. They were just busy. I guess they were too focused on getting ready for the match. Anyways, he's so embarrassed. His face drops. I can see like tears welling up in his eyes because he feels like I embarrassed them. And he's sad, and his whole mood changes. And not 30 feet behind those guys from New York comes who, Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy sees it all happen, sees his face, sees him get stiffed on the fist bump, and came over and made a fan for life. Hugged him, gave him a huge hug, embraced him, talked to him for 3 to 4 minutes right before the match. He said, Dad, get out your camera, take a picture with us, have Dad take a picture. It was just so cool. I'll share it here quickly. That's my son and Tavi. He absolutely made his day. So not only is Tommy Fleetwood the absolute best to watch, he is exactly what you think he is. He took time to make a really cool experience for my son, and I'll never forget it, and he'll always have that moment. So it was really cool. Shout out, Tommy. You're the man.
Yes, I saw the next generation Idonis were in the press booth afterwards, got a word in, got some questions in with Tommy as well, and he gave a really gracious and thoughtful answer, inspiring the next generation of golf fans too. So what a night for the Idoni family. That's awesome.
Big week for us, big week for the family. All right, big week for the PGA Tour. March is major. We have arrived. Let's get to the Players' Championship. Let's start with the course. New sponsor alert, ladies and gentlemen. Howoo! Wolfhammer Golf. Welcome to the team. Welcome to Read the Line. Welcome to Preferred Lines. We are super fired up about this, guys. You play that game every weekend with your friends. We've just revolutionized it with the help of the good folks over at Wolfhammer. Excuse me. As much as we love to talk professional golf, John, we like to play a little bit too. I know Keith does as well. They come preloaded on the Alpha app for all DGens on the golf course. 18 different betting games can be converted with over 15,000 variations for you to customize to your specific Friday game, your Sunday game. If you're tired like I am of getting pencil whipped and matching up cards at the end, and you know that one guy who's always like, I make 4 for 3, I make 4 for 3 on this hole, and you need verification sometimes. No more. That live leaderboard up to date, up to the second results for everyone participating. You can press through the app, fully integrated USGA handicaps. John, it's time to organize that chaos and elevate the experience when you and your friends roll out there. And we are so thrilled to partner with the good folks over at Wolfhammer. You got anything to add there?
Yes, sir. The snow is finally melting in New York. I have not seen grass this in 2026 until today. So it's kismet. We're talking about playing golf. Who knows? Maybe next week I'll actually get on the course in New York. But what I love about the Wolfhammer app, we're only just scratching the surface with what we know is coming to the app. But what I love is I can't ever decide on what game I'm going to play. And when I'm playing with like my dad, for example, we're not big gamblers on the course. We don't have to compete with each other. But I like the discovery element of it, where I can open this app and be like, "Oh, I've never heard of this game before. Let's give this one a try." And then we're doing it together. They've also talked to us about you don't even have to be playing; it could be your buddies playing, and you're tracking along in real time and betting on what you think is going to happen on the front nine, back nine. So it's a perfect partnership between us and them, because we love talking about betting on golf, betting on professionals. We love playing golf, and now we can bet on ourselves while we play, or we can bet on our friends while they play. It's backed by Johnny Wonder and Scott Stallings, two huge names in the world of golf. And hopefully we'll have them on this show soon so that we can talk through this app together. But as you can tell, we're all really excited about this partnership. It's something that we all really care about, playing and betting on golf. So it's just, we're excited to bring it to you guys.
Keith, Wolfhammer time, buddy. You ready?
Oh man, it's so cool. I mean, golf is so popular right now, and these little things are coming into the ecosystem, and they make it so much more fun. 15 years ago, we didn't have Bluetooth speakers out on the golf course. Now we're going to have apps that track all of your bets, and you don't have to worry about if it rains and then the scorecard gets wet and you get inside and you're like, oh man, like what happened on the fourth hole or whatever. Like, it's just so cool to have technology in golf. I've been a golf geek forever, and to have this stuff and have these guys support you guys just makes me so happy.
Yeah, super fired up about it. Let's get into the course preview that they have helped sponsor this week. Keith, I know you'll be boots on the ground all week out there in Ponte Vedra. I'm going to catch up with you a little midway through the week here. Just give us, Keith, a quick rundown of the course setup from an agronomy standpoint, the length. What are we talking about that makes TPC Sawgrass so darn special?
Well, okay. So when you start to talk about the agronomy and all of those factors, you take a look at the superintendent's report, and all the basics are there. Par 72, they're pushing, it's only like 100 yards shorter than Bay Hill, at this point. Everyone used to say this was like the shortest golf course, but it's very accuracy dependent. There's water on 17 holes. There's 94 bunkers, but you used a word there, special. What makes the stadium course at TPC Sawgrass special? In my mind, there's three things. Number one, we know it, but it's not just the fans that know it. It's the players that know it too. And I played there several times. And when you tee off number one, you're trying to pay attention to those first 16 holes, but you don't. The first time you play there, you're thinking about 17 all day. And then the next time you play there, you're thinking about 17 the night before. So the fact that we know the holes, much like Augusta National, I think it makes it very, very special. The conditioning there, this is their flagship spot. They do all the things that Augusta National does. The PGA Tour headquarters is like literally behind the 16th green over there and over by the 17th tee. So, their agronomy team makes the place perfect. And then the last part is that there's no better finish in golf, but there's no better fan experience in golf. The stadium seating. So those three things for me, the hole, the golf course conditioning, doesn't matter what the weather is. The turf is perfect. And then the stadium seating really creates that amphitheater in so many different ways. I mean, Pete Dye's design was just brilliant back in 1980, and what they've done to enhance it, that's what makes it special.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. When I was there with you 2 years ago, that was my biggest takeaway. I've been to a lot of professional golf events. I've never been to a tournament that was so fan friendly in terms of, God, the merch tent behind 17 is like the size of a Publix. Like, you get lost in that place. And not to mention, like, you walk out from the first green to the 18th green and you don't have a bad seat. You can see the action from anywhere. You can be 6 rows deep. And the way this course was built, it was built for a fan experience to host massive events. And that's exactly what they did here. Now, John, one of the big things that happened about 7 years ago at this event was a monumental shift in where this event is on the schedule. They moved this to March, right? From May to March. Are you eliminating notes from like when you're analyzing trends and what's important here at the Players? Are you taking anything that happened prior to 2019 and throwing it out based on the move in the schedule?
I'm definitely taking it with a grain of salt. I'm not going to completely eliminate it. It's still the same bones of the course. It's really the turf that's going to respond differently a different time of year. This used to be on Mother's Day. I remember graduating college. I'm either dating or making myself too young, but it was the year that I think it was the year Ricky won. And we were like listening to it on the car ride home. And it was Mother's Day. So I have great memories of the old Sawgrass. It's really the putting that shifts. So if you're somebody who teed a green, was really great here historically, but only over the last couple of years have you seen that rise in strokes gained putting. That's the insight that I'm really going to be keen on and looking at. Russell Henley was an example of that I noticed. Historically over the years hasn't performed up to par with what I would expect of him. We're starting to see these breadcrumbs really since 2020, where he is starting to putt a little bit better. Maybe it's that overseed that we see before the grass really grows into that true Bermuda. Here we have a little bit of overseed before we get to that peak season. Maybe it's a little, I guess you guys would both know climate-wise, what kind of climate and weather we've been getting in Florida this year. I feel like there's been a cold front a little bit, at least when I was down there. So maybe a little colder. How does that play into this? But overall, yes, tee to green, I think pretty consistent for me. That island green isn't changing. You're still into that island green, whether it was 2017 or now. But the putting is something where you might want to take a closer look at, because that has dramatically changed since 2019.
Yeah, I think the obvious, like you mentioned, the underlying impacts there are just much softer course conditions in March than we typically see in May. The greens and fairways have more moisture because they aren't as dried out. What this does, in my opinion, is you can take that information and say that, okay, this allows players to be more aggressive on the golf course, which is what Pete Dye always tends to reward. You can hit more drivers here now that the event is in March. You can green light pin locations with your caddy that may be a no-go in May when conditions were more firmer. The other thing is the course is still kind of in a bit of a transition mode at this point in northeast Florida there, meaning that it's transitioning from that overseed from the winter still. So the rough can be a little bit thicker and taller. That said, it's probably more predictable with that overseed than it is in May when all that Bermuda is fully grown in. The other thing that I'll add just this time of the year, wind in Florida this is weather, right? Nothing's totally predictable, but you can pretty much pin it to like clockwork, Keith, and this specific time of year, as evidenced by Bay Hill this week.
Oh, yeah.
The mornings are relatively calm. As the afternoons arrive, they tend to get very windy and gusty. Would you agree with that assessment?
Oh, yeah. And a lot of people overlook this one simple fact. The 17th tee or the 16th green, that's the most east the golf course goes. It's about 1.5 miles from the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
And those areas of the golf course, with the way they build the amphitheater around it, the Coliseum around it, they get those swirling winds in there. But the biggest difference in my mind, I know John talked about the agronomy and the putting. It's the wind. The wind weather is a major factor in March that you just wouldn't see in May. The place is baked out. And of course, Bermuda grass rough is a big difference too. But the wind is a big difference, Joe.
Yeah, and Keith, you mentioned this course is probably longer, may play longer than people give it credit for, being a par 72. I guess when we look top to bottom, like a complete data analysis of what works here, it's going to tell you that TPC Sawgrass strongly favors accuracy over distance off the tee. Do you believe that to be true?
Well, it's interesting because if you just look at the last three winners, you go, well, geez, Rory's won a couple times, Scotty's won a couple times. Like those guys hit it pretty far. But you got to kind of look at all the contenders. And over the last 6 years since they've come back to March, you average in the top 10 about 4 guys are bombers. And the other 60%, it's actually more than that because usually it's not just 10 guys. I think they had 5 one year, but there were 16 guys in the top 10. And it's certainly it's favoring accuracy and it's telling us that. But what's interesting is that the bombers still have an advantage.
Yes.
And if you could break it down a couple different ways. Number one, like most of the guys that are in the top 10 in the world, they bomb it.
Yeah.
There's very few Russell Henleys that get up there and stay there for a long period of time. There's always like a Wyndham that pops up there, or even Matt Fitzpatrick, when he got longer, he went up there. But Rory's been up there forever, Xander, whatever. This is a very positional golf course. Even when it's been made longer, when the guys are hitting positional shots, you have a more accurate club that you can hit with, a 3-iron or maybe a 2-iron or a hybrid or a fairway wood, where other guys have to hit driver. And then you look at those par threes. Like, one of my big keys this week is that, like, this is an amazing set of par threes that Pete Dye has put together. And those guys are just hitting shorter clubs into those holes.
Yeah.
You know, I think about that 8th hole, it's like 220. And if you're hitting like a 6-iron there, it's a heck of a lot easier than hitting a 4-iron. So for me, like, you still got to favor the power, but accuracy rules, and the top 10s tell us that.
Yeah, and I think, like, my opinion on it is it depends on what you're going for. Are you trying to build middle of the row, solid DraftKings lineups in the 7-8K range? Yes, search for those accuracy guys. If you're looking for top 20s or matchup plays, I would favor accuracy over power. But if you want to find an outright winner, he's got to bomb it. I do feel that way. And you look at what that allows you to do, and it allows you to play super aggressively. Rory last year started 4 back. That final round, I went back and watched it. He hit 10 drivers. The only one he didn't hit the 10th hole, the first hole, and 12. And the only reason he didn't hit it on 12 is because he was able to get there with a 5-wood. Scottie, when Scottie came back the year before in 2024, don't forget, he started that round 5 back. Scottie hit 12 drivers on 14 holes at TPC Sawgrass. So you're going to hear narratives this week that's going to tell you that this is a less than driver course. And if you're looking in totality, top to bottom of the field, I would agree with that. But I'll say this: if you want to win this tournament, you need to hit driver, and you need to keep your foot on the gas. And I'm not going to de-emphasize that because you can hit iron or hybrid off of 2 tee boxes. I still want to see a guy who has power and can bring a little bit of accuracy, but I think it's a huge asset here given the par 5s and how long some of these holes end up playing.
Yeah, I mean, even just look at this final round of Arnold Palmer Invitational we just saw. Like, if you're going to play conservative, you can get lapped by somebody who's going to play more aggressive than you. This is a more extreme example of that, where you may not necessarily have to hit the driver on every single hole, but if you do, you're going to have more scoring opportunities at your disposal.
Absolutely. And John, you do an awesome job, as well of a job of anybody at finding those corollary courses. So I wanted to ask you this: on the PGA Tour schedule, what are your top 3 course correlations to what you see at TPC Sawgrass?
Yeah, so the easy way to go about this would be to look at the other regular Pete Dye courses, which would be TPC River Highlands, Harbor Town, and Stadium Course. We see those every single year. Funny enough, Scottie Scheffler has won all 4 of these courses over the last 2 years. So that tells you there's a pretty strong correlation with Pete Dye courses wherever you go. Stadium Course, I think, is very misunderstood. It's actually a pretty strong test. It's just those other 2 courses at the American Express is where your birdie opportunities come from. But if you look specifically at how people score at the Stadium Course, there's a lot of correlation there. Siwoo Kim, Scottie Scheffler, John Rahm has played well on those courses. So I would take a look at that. You know, don't take for granted that that's a birdie fest course. There is a lot of correlation there. And if you want to go beyond Pete Dye, I know you only asked me for 3, but I also like Innisbrook. You know, next week it's a little bit more positional. It gives you some more options where you can't just recklessly hit driver everywhere. You have to be a little bit strategic about it. And TPC Southwind is another one where you just have a lot of water around, a stronger field where all of these guys are playing against each other. And that Bermuda base, you know, different time of year, of course, but that threat of water and positional accuracy, I think is very important at each of those 5 that I gave you.
Good spots there. And Keith, I got to ask you, so TPC Sawgrass, in my opinion, has always done a good job of morphing itself and staying in tune with the times, with the changes that they made to the 12th hole. The big one last year, of course, that got all the publicity was the 6th hole. They added that tree. Talk to me about the impact that had and how that hole played. I'll bring it up here. Here's the picture. It's tight.
So, yeah. And, I mean, they made a tight hole tighter, but the 6th hole kind of epitomizes a lot of what Pete Dye believes in his design. If you take on a bunch of risk, that he will reward you, but you're taking on a bunch of risk. I mean, that's a very short par 4 that you want. If you can get up close to the green, you can attack that. It's a very small green surface. It's got kind of shelves to it. It kind of falls off to the side. It's got some bunkering around it. So, like, if you can shape your ball around that tree with a club that's longer than you probably should, then you are supremely rewarded on that hole. And that's the way you like. That's why guys like Siwoo Kim and Scotty and guys that are aggressive, like they play well on Pete Dye golf courses because they realize that they're probably just not going to win if they don't play aggressively. You've got to hit those spots. If you just go and plod your way around like Daniel Berger did on the back nine today at Bay Hill, you'll probably get yourself a nice top 40 or something like that, but that'll be it. You're not going to be able to spike. And the sixth hole is a perfect example of that. And, you know, there was mixed reviews on that from the guys. I remember all of the different fodder last year. We were hearing on the range and around the practice putting green and everything. Like, what are these guys doing or whatever? But you know what? Pete Dye, he's very, very good at presenting something that causes you to make a very good risk-reward choice. And that's what we love as fans. The tree is just a perfect example of it. It's a microcosm of it.
It's like a little version of Stinger there almost.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of giving off those vibes. But listen, what he did, like you mentioned it, he wants to give you something to think about, and he wanted to make the hole play harder. Let's be honest, get it back to its identity. And you know what? It worked. 2024, this hole played 0.2 of a stroke under par. It was the second easiest par 4 on the golf course that week in 2024, behind only the drivable 12th hole. Last year, half stroke over par, third toughest hole on all of TPC Sawgrass on this short little par 4 because of the changes they made. But the one that I want to talk about that kind of went under the radar last year, Keith, is one of my favorite little sneaky spots on the course that I found.
Ooh.
The 14th hole. This hole played is an absolute brute last year with the changes. In Pete Dye fashion, he wants you to challenge that trouble. Now, you're looking from the green back to the tee box, but he wants you to challenge that water and that bunker to the left side to get a proper angle in there. What he found was guys were just bailing out right and getting away with it. No more. He has put these grass moguls, Keith, that I can remember. Like, there were guys, if they didn't have spotters, they would have lost balls in there. Added a bunch of trees. He moved that cart path further right. And now that shot, if you want to bail out to the right and avoid the water there, it's extremely hard. This like missing, he felt that missing this hole should be heavily punished. And now it is. 3 out of 4 days last year, it played as the hardest hole on the course. Not 18. This hole played as the hardest hole on the course. Nearly a full stroke over par on the weekend, twice as hard as the 18th. All for having a difficult. This 14th hole is a U.S. Open, pack your lunch pail and try to make a par type of hole. And I love that it's kind of where it's situated on the golf course right before 16 there, which is a pretty must birdie opportunity, kind of tucked away in that back corner. I love this hole and love the changes that they made to make it really hard.
Joe, it is one of the most intimidating golf holes you can hit driver on that you're ever going to play. There is no doubt about it. That hole is, and you say to yourself, well, you're only playing golf, Keith. What could be intimidating about it? I don't know. There's just like a bunker down the left, and then there's water where you know there's alligators, and then down the right, it was hard to begin with, but then they put those moguls in, and then you can't mow grass in the bottom of the moguls. The grass down there is like 7 inches deep. That hole, if you think about it, how many times has that hole determined the golf tournament on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon, because the leaders go through there and somebody makes like a bogey or a double or something, and it's just it's like the last really hard test till you get to 18, and 18 is just visually a tough test. It's just more of like a mind screw, whereas this hole right here, it's like you got to step up and you got to hit a really, really big boy golf shot.
Yeah, last little graphic I want to touch on with you, John, because we've talked about it a couple times this year. I want to bring this to the stage now. This is a graphic from Data Golf, and what this is showing you, and I will interpret it for you, is that you can't miss left at TPC Sawgrass. The differential between the left miss and the right miss is the second highest differential of any course on the PGA Tour between the left miss penalty and the right miss penalty. You can't do it here. John, we talked about it. You can't do this at Sony. You can't do this at Waste Management. You can't miss left here or you're absolutely dead. Your thoughts on kind of this narrative being thrown out there for the players?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And you mentioned Sony and Waste Management. Those also have strong correlations with this course. You look at a guy like a Justin Thomas as somebody who plays well on each of those courses. And I think more than just the left miss, going back to your previous point, it's shot shaping here. Like if you're out of position, you almost have to hit something that cuts right to left to get back in position, or cuts left to right to get back in position, depending on where you miss. You have to shape it both ways. Even if we talk about 18, like that's something that you're going to be really nervous to overhook a right to left shot there. So a lot of guys are going to bail towards, maybe like a stock left to right shot, and that's going to put you in the woods and give you some trouble. So it just requires you to pick a shot and execute it, which is all it, like pick a difficult shot and execute it, which is all we want to see every week on the PGA Tour. I don't want to see the Wyndham Clark 18 at LACC bail out and get away with it. And you're not getting that at TPC Sawgrass.
That don't happen in Florida anywhere. You can't bail away. You can't miss by 30 yards and get away with it anywhere in this state. All right, enough about the TPC Sawgrass and the golf course. Let's talk about the players in the players. All right, boys, let's bring to the stage for the first time the odds board this evening. Let's get things started up top. Your guys' level of concern with Scottie Scheffler right now, from on a scale of 0 being not concerned at all to 10 being a little highly worried. Where are you at, Keith?
So a good 7 or 8 right
Okay.
now. Oh yeah. I saw it live last week at Bay Hill, and I'm a little bit concerned because the things that are like his DNA that he seems very, very comfortable with right now, he does not seem comfortable with. And, everybody always makes fun of him that he's like the fair police out there all the time. The greens are dead or this or that. He complains about a lot of things, but when he can't hit stock iron shots from like 170 yards to like inside 20 feet, like repetitively, and he's hitting them in like greenside bunkers from the middle of the fairway, we got issues there. Now, he's Scottie Scheffler, so he can solve those issues. But man, we've had these issues going on for a month, and he didn't like cut his hand like making raviolis, guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. The gap between Scheffler and McIlroy, in my opinion, is closer than the odds will tell you that it is right now.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of win equity. However, John, Rory withdrew. He tweaked something in his back working out at Bay Hill. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it has any impact in whether you like him, whether you fade him this week, or just whether he plays?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Rory McIlroy, I think he's prioritizing events on his schedule that he wants to be right for, and he saw Daniel Berger was very far ahead of him, so it could have been very precautionary going into the weekend. Bay Hill's a bear. I got to make up a dozen strokes on this guy. Let's just take it easy and precautionary measures. Let's get ourselves onto Sawgrass where I'm defending. So it's speculative. That's why it's great that we have both of you guys on the grounds later this week, so we can actually not just speculate, but ask those questions and see firsthand and report on what we're seeing out there. But I'm with you. I think the margins are very thin between Scheffler and Rory right now. I'm also concerned about Scottie. But you look at these two guys since the schedule shift, over the last 6 tournaments, they've won 4 of them, Scottie and Rory, that is. So if either of them win this week, they'll be the first to win the Players 3 times. I think that's, an interesting narrative we have here. They're just both kind of reeling coming in here, relatively speaking. I know, Scheffler's results, you put him on a page, he's not reeling relative to anybody else here. But by their standards, they're not playing to the odds they're priced at right now.
I want to watch Rory. I want to watch him hit balls. I want to hear him, and then I might be in. I'm close there. I'm concerned just as I'm sure all Ball Frogs fans are highly concerned as they have a big playoff matchup on whether he's going to play in that. We want to see him at the Players. We want to see him with that chance to repeat. Guys, the next 3 guys on the board: Tommy Fleetwood, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa. If I made you pick one of those guys, who is most likely to win? I'll start with John.
I think the consensus this week is going to be Colin. I think it's interesting that he's the longest of the 3. Xander hasn't given us much in the last few weeks. Tommy looked human for the first time. And I'm going to say human, relatively speaking, again, to Tommy's standards, because he's a top 5 machine. He looked pretty bad last week at API. You can chalk one of those off to, maybe not as positional as what we're going to see here. On paper, it should be a great Tommy Fleetwood course. But I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to Colin this week, and he's the first name on the board that I'm thinking about betting.
Keith, do you agree? Colin?
It's got to be Colin. I said it going into Bay Hill. I bet him at Bay Hill. The iron game is so good right now. Oh man, he's dealing, and it's got to be Colin.
Yeah, top 10 last year for Colin. Was really sharp, gained 8 strokes on approach last year, just left it all on the greens. But he's been putting better. Gained 2.7 at the API, so things are looking up with the flat stick for Mr. Morikawa. This is the next range of the odds boards where my eyes start to see a little bit more value. And the name that sticks out to me in my first pick of the week that I made before the API even wrapped up is the young stud drink of water that you'll see in the picture right there, Mr. Ludwig Åberg. I thought that he was fantastic. He was second in the week tee to green. He was an absolute stud, and the ball striking appears to be back. I know that TPC Sawgrass is like home away from home for Ludwig when he's staying over here, so he should be very comfortable on that course. I love the value. I love the upside. I would like to see the short game tighten up a little bit. He still misses a couple of short putts, but just seemed really in control of his golf ball for the first time that I've really watched it closely all year. So I'm in on Ludwig at 40-1. Keith, a name on this second page of the odds board that kind of sticks out to you that is drawing you in?
Well, I was opening up the charts as I started to prepare for this week, Joe. And I know you love my charts, so this is why I bring it up. And when I was looking at it, I picked Ludwig here last year, and he missed the cut. And I'm thinking to myself, well, last year he came in, he won at Torrey, the Genesis. He came in and, like, you would think would have been better form, and he missed the cut. And now he's coming in great form again. I know his rookie time here, he finished 8th. I don't know. The short game, I mean, he looked good at Bay Hill, man. He looked like the kid there. He looked good. So you're probably going to talk me into this throughout the course of the week, but I did see that, and I was like, why did he miss the cut last year? And I looked at the numbers and everything, and they just weren't very Ludwig-like. For me, I'm going to go with an accuracy merchant. I'm going to go with a guy that continues to step up. The last 2 majors of the year last year, he top 10 both of them. I like Russell Henley in there. Russell played really good defending at API. Most people don't give him a ton of credit for he should be that good to win a signature event, but he keeps showing up. And if you were going to build a golf course that was perfect for a Colin or a Russell, it would be the stadium course at TPC Sawgrass, where you just go A to B to A to B and make some putts. And for me in that group there, I think that there's a high probability that Russell Henley is going to give me something to sweat out on late Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I got Henley ranked second in the field in distance from the edge of the fairway. So the dispersion for Henley is elite. He's not going to miss it. Now, he's not going to blow it by anyone. The one thing, John, I wanted to ask you about. So I want to like a bomber here. As I mentioned, this is an outright market, and I'm looking for a winner. I talked about how you can't miss left at Sawgrass in the correlation there. You can't miss left at Sony. You can't miss left at Phoenix. You know who won both of those tournaments, John? He's right there at 40-1. He played pretty well again this week. Chris Gotterup is I just can't believe they still continue to price him with these other guys. I feel like he's earned himself up with the Hideki and Siwoo and Ben Griffin, and I don't feel like he should be here.
Totally agree. 2-time winner. I don't know why Ben Griffin is 32-1 and Chris Gotterup is all the way down there at 40. So you may see some of these numbers flip flop. Even Justin Rose being shorter than Gotterup. I mean, I do like the course for Rose, but I totally understand. I bet Gotterup on just the value of the number. He had a tough Sunday, but he was right in the mix again at API, and that was kind of his first time, I believe, debut at API. So he doesn't need to see the course to play well. We'll see if I get there on Gotterup. I love the number. I wrote a lot about Fitzpatrick this week. I'm going to be on him. I think it's a great number. The ball striking has been fantastic ever since he won the DP World Tour Championship. The ball striking has been A class, some of the best ball striking we've seen in his career. The short game has been slower to come back, but the short game has always been great at Sawgrass, so this could be a good get-right spot for him. He putted a lot better on Bermuda at Bay Hill last week. and he won at Pete Dye's Harbor Town, which is sort of his home away from home favorite course. So we know he can navigate a shorter course as well. A lot of things to like about Fitz. I'm with you on Ludwig. I like that he's got Skavren, who's won here with Ricky on the bag, so that'll be some nice tutelage around this course. And I'll also say that I like Cam Young here. I probably won't be able to get away from that. You talk about bombers, someone who can play aggressively, played very well last week, has the shots, he's got every shot in his bag, and is starting to putt a little bit better. And he's won on Bermuda, his only PGA Tour win. So I like Cam Young. I know it's a scam. We keep going back to it, but I will probably be there once again.
I don't think it's a scam at all. I mean, look, early in the year, he was like everyone's flavor of the month and picked to have a great season. Stumbled a little bit out of the gates, but has it going back in the right direction. 7th at Genesis, 3rd at the API. He gained 7.5 strokes off the tee at Bay Hill this week. He's pretty dialed in with the ball striking right now, which makes him a hyper dangerous option, sort of in that high 30, early 40s range of the odds board. We start to open it up here, boys, on page 3. 45-1, you get Patrick Cantlay, McNeely, Spawn, Lowry, and Berger, a couple of guys who may have something to talk about on the range this week, maybe provide a little inspiration. Justin Thomas, John, we were all over that. And Keith, we saw him at TGL. He told us flat and simple, I don't have it right now. A pair of 79s. What's he doing here on the odds board? Brooks Koepka's there at 55-1. I know that he drew some eyeballs with his finish at the Cog. Obviously can get Akshay Bhatia, probably not at 60-1 anymore. I'm sure those odds are long gone. I put this together right before the final round of Bay Hill. Bunch of names here, guys. John, who sticks out to you and why?
So there's a guy on this page who is number 1 in total strokes gained in 2026, Jake Knapp. And that's another guy that I want to see some reporting on this week, because he might have been another precautionary withdrawal, controversially, right after lineups kind of locked for DFS standpoint. So he may be somebody that people don't trust when it comes to fantasy this week. But he's been electric in all facets of the game, and he actually had a good showing before he was even playing at this level last year. So Jake Knapp, I think it's a great number as long as he's not continuing to linger with that injury. I'm very interested in him this week. I think for placements, Berger and Lowry have been 2 of the most consistent guys at this event as far as active cut made streaks. So maybe a top 20 there. I'm not going to touch Lowry for sure in an outright market. Berger, I don't think is a bad buyback spot. I don't even know if he'll stay at 50, but I think he's interesting. And Min Woo is the other guy on this page. You talk about a bomber who knows how to dial it back. He's been in the mix twice over the last 3 years and ejected himself both times. So hopefully he learns from that. But he's contended here a few times. I think he's interesting.
11 under par headed into the weekend last year in a tie for first before he ejected. But you know what? The approach play has really improved for Minwoo, and we should give him credit for that, especially the last 3 events. 2nd at Pebble, 12th at Genesis, 6th at the API. The form is there. Does have some course history, even beyond last year, John, when he led headed into the weekend, T6 in 2023. Keith, let's start with this. What happened with Jake Knapp?
So, you guys know me.
Yeah.
I'm not a church on Sunday guy, but I mean, I do God's work, okay? That thing breaks. I was all over Knapp last week, and I go up to the PGA Tour comms people. Why is Jake Knapp not playing? I don't, you know me. I'm not that entitled a person, but I feel like I was owed an answer to that question, right? So I'm like, why is he not playing? An injury. Okay, fine. I go back. Sit down, because they give you his team said that he had an injury. Any details on that injury? No, of course not. Fine. This is golf. We all know it. We get frustrated by it. I'm not going to have it ruin my day. Fine. It happened before the tournament. I'm out. But then I go over and X has it up that he was out because of illness. So I take that tweet over to comms and I go, is it an illness or is it injury? Because those are 2 very different things. Yes. I know Xander last week was really battling allergies, right? And there was a number of guys that ejected today, like Goddard would be one, Schauffele's another one. Guys, the golf course was dead today. So I wouldn't, if somebody had a bad Sunday at API, they went out aggressively, they couldn't do anything, so they just dog walked their way in. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be too upset with like Goddard's performance today or something like that, because the golf course was absolutely dead, right? And when it comes to Knapp, I would be very interested in Jake Knapp here. And we will be all over him, Joe. I will be all over. The first time I see Jake Knapp, I'm going to be like, what's Jake Knapp doing? I'm going to be all over that guy like white on rice. Like, it's a very good question. The other one, there's two other names there that I have interest in. You guys mentioned it, Min-Woo Lee. Min-Woo Lee loves this golf course. He's talked about it. He likes the aggressive nature that he gets to play and attack this golf course, and he's not afraid to eject himself. He's done it before, but he's good on this golf course. Jake Knapp's he's played here twice, made both cuts. Not everybody makes every cut here. It's a very volatile cut line, right? The third guy there in that group, Adam Scott. I think that Adam Scott is motivated by all that Justin Rose is doing, and Adam Scott's play recently has been very, very good. And that's a golf course where his driving of the golf ball makes him elite, gives him an opportunity to separate. In this range here, those are the three guys that I have the most questions that I'm going to go be looking at starting tomorrow when I'm on the golf course. And then, all through Wednesday, well, all week really. But like when we're talking about pre-tournament, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those are three guys right there I'm extremely interested in.
Yeah, I had a lot of people after what happened, sort of to end the cognizant. I'm the Brooks guy, right? Everyone's like, I got to bet him at the Players. He's 80-1, he's 70-1, he's 60-1. The number's crashing. When do I take it? He sucks here. He's not winning. He's not winning the Players. This ain't the spot. This ain't the spot, fam. I'd rather take him at Augusta than to take him to win this spot. He's never got along well with TPC Sawgrass. I don't see that changing this week, but there is one guy who has got along and, got very friendly with TPC Sawgrass at one point in time in his career. I wanted to ask you guys about him. Let me tell you his last 7 starts before I do that. 6th, 7th, 18th, 18th, 19th, 28th, 9th at Bay Hill. Not a name, a guy that I think is perennially just a terrible value on the odds board from a name recognition standpoint, but we got to put some respect on the golf that this guy's playing. Ricky Fowler's playing some pretty darn good golf right now.
He is. I mean, and the fact that he spends the rest of his time at spring training. Have you guys seen those outfits? It's unbelievable. Like, I mean, the guy's been busy, Ricky Fowler's been great, Joe. It's a great, I mean, from a placement perspective on this golf course, like a really nice top 10 or top 5. I mean, I think that those types of prop bets are super active this week.
Yeah. John, anything on Ricky? Any thought on it?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at him as well. It looks like he's putting together the same season he had when he played himself onto the team, the Ryder Cup team in Rome, where he was just kind of the steady drumbeat, gaining across all 4 categories and top 20 every single week. So that version of Ricky seems to be back, and it's not a bad number.
Not a bad number for how he's playing golf. Former champ here, of course. Let's move on to some of the long shots in this field. You start with Keegan Bradley. I heard that he was pretty sick at API, obviously missed the cut. Jason Day has played well here before. You get champion Jacob Bridgman back in the field this week. Nikolai Højgaard's played well. I'm just starting to rattle off some names here, guys. Anyone, I'll start with you, John. You like to pick a few guys out of this range. Anyone you're peeling off for the Players?
Yeah, I love what Keith just said about the course being dead when it comes to Sepp Straka today, because he had a really rough Sunday, but he played so well. And I think ball striking wise, he was great. I don't think that 65 is going to stay. I'm sure it's dwindling already, although he kind of regressed into, I think, a T13 finish there. But he looks great. A couple of top 20 finishes the last couple of years. Great game for Sawgrass. Straka will be a popular play this week. Thigala is the other one on this page. I think he's been electric this year. And you think about a scrambling shot makers course. He's been getting it done with the short game and popping a lot with the short game, but the short game is the only area that hasn't been great for him at Sawgrass. He's actually ball struck it pretty well, putted really well here. And he's a good scrambler. So I don't think that 120 number is going to last very long either, because he had a high finish yesterday. So, if you can get on that early, I like Thigala here at that number. And then Rye would be my last guy. We talk about Ponte Vedra Beach, the locals. This guy lives at TPC Sawgrass. He practices there. He moved there so that he could practice more. Last year, Danny Walker was sort of the flavor of the week, surprise top 5 finisher, because we later found out that he practices every single day at this course. So you may get a little of that with Rye. I don't know if he's going to be an outright, but I expect him to play well this week.
Yeah, I love Straka. In on Straka this week, was in on him this week. We're going to run it back. He's got a thing for Florida. The approach play is so strong right now. You stick a wedge in his hand, he's probably putting it to within 12 feet. The other one that I took is triple digits on Alex Noren. So Noren's been playing pretty good golf. Obviously, the last couple of starts have been very positive. He checks a lot of boxes when I'm looking to create a stat model this week. Highly accurate off the tee, great putter, streaky approach player, doesn't miss left like ever. So he
will never miss left.
Never misses left. Exactly. Listen,
Never.
I put it in the model this week, and he ranked very highly in a lot of the stuff I was looking for. So triple digits there. Keith, wanted to ask you about the gentleman that's featured here. We had a nice conversation with him a few weeks ago. I was on him here a few years ago when, God, I thought that putt was in on the 18th hole, and this is his reaction after. It was like center cup. I still don't know how it missed. What are your thoughts on Wyndham? This is a big number on a course that he's played well on, where he can really play that just giant high fade out there on a lot of holes. Any inklings there that you think that this guy could be in for a return to form?
You know, that year I had him to. It was 55-1, and he was one revolution away from getting in a playoff. And I just feel like the approach game was better that year. And when he's winning golf tournaments, that's the one thing that he needs to get done, right? He's a streaky putter. He's a bonus putter. He makes a lot of putts over 20 feet. And he's a good driver of the golf ball. He keeps the ball in play. Much like Alex Noren, Wyndham's not going to miss it left off the tee. It's just not going to happen. And so he's a good fit for this place, and like the approach game just needs to be better. And that's why it's triple digits. When I look down in this list right here, you guys touched on it. Straka is definitely somebody that the pencil's out, Joe. I've got the list here and everything of who we're going to see. And Straka is definitely one of them. There's a bunch of guys down there like Aaron Rye, 3 times there, never missed a cut. Yeah. Like Rory was winning and missing cuts, and then like top 10ing and missing cuts. Like this place is super, super volatile. If you can get through around this place, multiple editions without missing cuts. I mean, Tom Hoagie, 7 times, course record holder, never missed a cut. Your boy, Dirt, Denny McCarthy, 6 times, never missed a cut here. Like maybe these guys aren't going to win the tournament, right? But these are the guys that you want to have to build DFS lineups or to, diversify your card that you'll see with John or myself, putting in placements and like those are the types of guys that I'm looking at down here. Noren is definitely the way he's been playing lately. He never misses it left. Mm-hmm. And I say this all the time. I love to go look at the range at the end of the day. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm always looking at the end of the day. And why? Because if a guy's still hanging around there, there's probably issues or they're just a hard worker. And there's 2 guys on this list that are always the last to leave the range, and they're both incredibly hard workers. Like these guys, you couldn't ask for them to win enough for how hard they work on their golf game. Now, so like a lot of times there's guys out there that it's like, oh man, this is bad. Like don't touch these guys this week. But there's 2 guys on that list right there. Alex Noren is one of them. That guy works incessantly hard. And the second one is Sahith Theegala. Those 2 guys shut down the range all the time. They work really, really hard. Sahith's had some decent history here. He is definitely somebody that I'm interested in this week as well, to go watch and see how they're acclimating to things up here in Jacksonville. And golf course is going to be perfect. It's not going to be like Bay Hill. If you're playing well with your iron game and you're scoring with the putter and you're putting the ball in play off the tee, and Sahith is a really good long iron player. He's not the greatest driver of the golf ball, Joe. We know that, right? But when he can club down and hit fairways, he plays good on those golf courses. Yeah. Just go look it up. He does. And when he wasn't injured, in the years that he wasn't injured like last year, those places he plays well, and this is one of them.
I feel like he can be very volatile. Like he just is a streak. Like he'll hunt. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like he did today at Bay Hill, and he's got creativity and he's got shot making ability where nothing's off the table for someone like Theegala. Could he be more accurate off the tee? Of course he could. But at 120-1 guy, I don't think you're going to find a lot of guys there where you're like, that can be an outright play. You're looking for top 40s. You're looking for matchups. Sahith can be an outright guy at 120-1. The other one you mentioned, just to touch on Aaron Rye, basically, according to reports, essentially lives at the back of the range at TPC Sawgrass. Also, fun note, the only guy ever to close down that iconic closing stretch, birdie, ace, birdie, when he did that a few years ago. Awesome stuff from Aaron Rye. Awesome stuff from you guys. What else we got going on this week? Anything to close us down here? I'll start with you, Keith. What all you got cooking?
The power rankings come out on Monday morning. The newsletter from Read the Line comes out on Wednesday morning. In between that, I'll do a show with Pat Mayo. That'll be released probably like midnight, I guess 12:01 Wednesday morning. Pat loves to send it out there just on the last day. It's called The Final Word. Check that out for sure. But the power rankings, guys, I'll just say this much, right? It's a labor of love for me. We talked about earlier how long it is, but if you love those yellow boxes on Wikipedia, this is the document. This is the article you need, right? It's got betting value. It's got DFS value. It's got how they did in the majors last year. It's got how they've done it, the players, their career, their best finish there, their age, their horoscope sign. It's got everything in there. If you want one-stop shopping for when you're looking these guys up, instead of like going to Wikipedia and all these other different data golf and everything, just for this event, for that reason, it's the best resource you can get your hands on. That's what I got going.
Awesome stuff. And remember, folks, get in on that newsletter. That's one of the best resources that you can have going. All the information that Keith gets this week will be in there. John, live from the Tout House this week, any thoughts on trying to take down Aaron Rye and going birdie, ace, birdie on the closing stretch?
I don't think there's enough time in the week for me to put enough shots into the simulator for me to pull that off. I would have loved to have done. I think Rory had the shot of the tournament on 6, where he played out of the trees and escaped for an up and down when he looked like he was dead in jail. And I wanted to try that, but it's Sawgrass week. I'm going to be on 17. I just learned how to move the pins so I can actually get to an accessible pin. I think the Saturday one on moving day, that's where we tend to see the most aces. Maybe it's Aaron Rye's ace that we try to recreate, or Shane Lowry, but I will be putting a lot of 9 irons into the net for the next few days until hopefully we land one. And then otherwise, the tournament preview is out on lineups.com. I spent a lot of time unpacking March's major and putting my opinions on what this tournament needs to do to be considered a major. So check that out this week as a special bonus. And I'm also doing in the Players and Major Weeks, I do a little office pool strategy article for each tier of player and strategy. If you're doing those pools, I know the casuals come in, the uncles and friends and coworkers and colleagues come a knock in this week for players. So look forward to putting that out this week as well.
Well written, informed, free from PGA TOUR. Make sure to check out those articles. As we close down the show, as always, thank you to our sponsors. Of course, Read the Line. Of course, Wolfhammer. We're super excited to begin this. Keith and I will be live, boots on ground in Ponte Vedra Beach this week. Thank you to you all who took the time out of your week to watch this show. I hope that you're excited for the players. Please do us a favor and go ahead and subscribe to the Read the Line YouTube channel while you're here. Share with a friend, comment below who you think is going to win the Players Championship. I appreciate you guys for taking the time this evening to join me. Appreciate everyone for making this a seamless process as we transfer over everything from Preferred Lines to the Read the Line channel. Thank you so much for your support. Enjoy the Players Championship. On behalf of the three of us, this has been another episode of Preferred the Lines. We're out of here. Peace.